Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to King B's Daily RNS Podcast, where we go over the RNSs from the day, a bit of market summary, and a bit about each one. So first up, really sad news from the company Vast. Andrew Hall, their commercial director, has sadly died. I want to, on behalf of the Hive, send our sincerest condolences to Andrew Hall's friends, his family, and everyone in the company. It's a sad day for you all, and I hope everyone gets through the next while okay. So let's get on to the other RNSs of the day. So first up, EQT. So we covered this a bit yesterday as well. They've achieved certification, which means they can do higher quality work and various other things in the RNS, but 19% down the day. So it sounds like the market, aren't liking what they're seeing, and maybe they wanted other RNSs. But, again, these shares drop often when sentiment drops. So if sentiment is dropping, will it pick up? Is it a turnaround play now? When is it a turnaround play? Things to consider there. Next up, FCM, 6% down the day. They have taken a core of 400 meters and basically split that up into 80 samples. A few things to note in there. The lengths are 5.5 meters to 0.5 meters. The grades range from 3% to 0.81% lithium. There's tantalum as well, which is great because it can offset costs in the long term. So if that tantalum keeps going, that's great for the company. But we need to ensure that this is that people get balance and make sure that we know that this is a very early stage project. Yes, the intercepts, the grades look okay, but the actual, it says it includes. And the includes bit is 1 meter, 0.9 meters, 2.5 meters, and 0.6 meters. So they're very, very small, but it's one core. So they need to get some drilling done. We need to get some other stuff from the company. But, from one core, it's not bad, but we need more information from the market, really, and about funding and how they're going to push forward in this very early stage. But, it's got a long-term potential here. We just need to see a bit more from the company in terms of making a mining and metals decision in the short term. Next up, COPL, 4% down the day. They've raised another 800k from one batch of bonds, 1.2 million from the other bonds. So what I did quick bit of maths really. So they've got 63 million shares from this 2 million. So per million shares, it is around 31 million shares issued to the market. So for every 1 million they get in the bank, 31 million go on shares. And they've got 11.6 million 2027 bonds and 10.8 million 2028 bonds still left. So if you do the maths on that, the dilution that could come over time, but they're obviously trying to work really hard to get the production up and go and get a backed loan to try and pay off all these things. But interestingly, the senior lender I talked about in previous podcasts do not allow anything over 2 million to sit in the bank. So it's interesting. This is exactly 2 million they've raised, which means they have to pay off the senior lender out of it and they get to keep all the money, which is a very interesting little note I picked up when I did the maths earlier. Next up, UFO. So again, they're moving in the right direction, this company, 2% up on the day. They're getting the Memorandum of Understanding at MOU, which basically opens up the path to using Pilbara port to meet their tonnage requirements. And they're basically trying to work out the whole supply chain to get it to the customer. So they're doing the right things, they're ticking the right boxes, and it's nice to see a company working on the right things at the right time. Next up, RRR. They're getting more licenses, but again, licenses don't mean anything unless you can drill them. It needs cash, obviously, to turn these licenses around. So sometimes it's all well and good saying about they've got a massive surface area of licenses and assets, but it means higher capex, need to get out of the ground, unless you can JV and free carry on them, which is always the play to go for. 5% down on the day. Next up, SRB. So it's a gold mining company. I've not really heard of them before, interestingly. And they talk about promising prospects. They've done some airborne geophysics and soil geochemistry, 6% down the day, but looks like something just to do a bit of deep diving into. It's obviously very, very early days again, but worth a look into. Next up, Fab, 108% up on the day. Fair play. Holders have been going through a bit of a torrid time over the years with pharma plays that are all down on the dumps at the moment, it seems. There's no numbers in here, but there's a collaboration agreement with the National Cancer Institute, which is amazing. That's a very good collaboration agreement. But there's no numbers. They need some contracts, and we've talked about the finances before in our group. It's a very good one-day rise, but it needs to sustain now for holders because it's really down. So I hope it does. I hope it keeps going. But interesting if the sentiment continues or traders exit or what happens next. Next up, KZG, 4% down the day. They've basically got a diamond project. And what I like about this RNS is they've put their hands up and said, look, it's not working as effectively as it should. So what we're going to do is, because we own 64% of this asset, we're going to order a diamond jig, and we're going to sort the issues out and try and get to 20 tonnes per hour of processing capacity. And then we want operation early 2024. So that'll be an interesting one to track, actually, to see whether they've held their hands up, they're trying to sort it, and whether they do sort it, and whether it's an interesting turnaround play, and whether it starts rising, in early 2024. So maybe one to watch out for. UPL, 3% down the day. They've done a joint technical study. It's nice to see on time, on cost, and high quality. That's a little tagline in there that I quite liked. They've done all the prep now for an exploration campaign. They've got an enhanced understanding of the block. There's no well drilled on that part. They've got 3 prospects mapped out, and the prospects look decent, don't they, on paper? So, some exciting things coming for UPL. And obviously, there's a lot of work to be done still and a lot of risks attached. But, we talk about getting ahead of the risk curve. And if it fits your risk appetite, oil plays are tough. But, you've got to look into this, and the assets look good. So it'd be interesting to see if it does get that pre-drill excitement going on. And for UPL holders, I hope it does, and they deserve it because they're a good bunch. Next up, all 3% up on the day. So they basically talk about visible results. So good percentages, and there's some really good widths in there, but we need some lab analysis to really understand the asset and to really understand how it's going to progress. Visible results are all well and good, and it does read well, but we need to talk about how it is going to progress with actual lab results. Last two placings. 88 Energy placing today, 11% down the day. They've raised 5.3 million, and there's some hidden warrants in there too. For every 3 placing shares, there's 1 warrant share attached. 18% discount on the closing price, 11% down on the day. Then there's a placing at Hemo. We talked about this, the chicken and egg scenario. Unfortunately, it might have been the chicken, where the placing came before the FDA approval. 16% down the day. It was at some point 2.7 today, and it went down to 2.39. Interestingly, it's 2.3 for the placing. So often you do see shares go to the placing price and below it, as shares enter the market. But they've raised 534k for 22 million shares. I suppose the question is, will it be enough? High cash burn in farmers, but will they be able to get the product to FDA and then possibly get some money in that way through use of their asset, use of JVs in terms of venture agreements with other companies who might help them progress to market. So that's the analysis from the day. With the largest Telegram group in the UK. If you like what you heard and you want to be part of a good research debated group, then the link is in our description. Thanks everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.